This is the last year's 10 years of the apartment market in Alameda County, 10 units or more. So the upper left-hand corner, that's the dollar value. So you can see in 2004, 2005, it peaked and has been going down ever since. Now the 2009 is only through June, so it will get a little bigger. I'm sorry to say that it's not going to get that much bigger. Okay? It's not going to make any difference in the trend. The upper right-hand corner, number of transactions, the number of deals per year, the deal velocity, if you will, that peaked in 2004 and has been steadily going down ever since. The cap rate. Now this is important because in 1999 you can see the cap rate was over 8. That meant that investors were willing to accept, or they were able to get an 8% return on their billings. And that went down steadily till it bottomed out in 2007, where the cap rate was a little bit over 5. So that meant as investors were forced to accept lower and lower rates of return, the prices went up. And now that's reversed. You can see 2008 and so far into 2009 the cap rates are going up, which means the prices are coming down. So I expect as we get into through the end of this year and into next year, cap rates are going to continue to drift down or drift up, and prices are going to be drifting down this year into next year. I just don't know how much longer into next year. And gross rate multipliers, you can see that they have dropped off. This next chart is a comparison of interest rates, 3 interest rates, over a period from 1976 to the present. The yellow line is the federal funds rate. Now that's the key short-term rate from the Federal Reserve. You can see that that is near 0 now. The black line is the cost of funds index. That's one of several indices that is used on your adjustable rate mortgages. And that is a weighted average of short-term rates. And you can see the black line follows the yellow line fairly closely because they're all short-term rates. The red line is the 10-year Treasury bond yield. That is set by the bond market, not by the Federal Reserve. So and that is a key to your fixed rate loans. So if you go out and you get an apartment loan, a 5-year fixed loan, and then it adjusts thereafter, when you get your interest rate at the beginning, it depends on what the bond market is at that day practically. And when you set your rate for a fixed rate loan, you want a bond rally, because that pushes the bond yield down, which presses your interest rate down. Okay, that's how that works. Now, I want to draw your attention to earlier in the graph, much earlier, 1979, 1980. What is going on here? Look at the yellow line, it spikes up to 20%. That is the Federal Reserve's answer to inflation. That's what happened in the last round of inflation we had, in 1979, 1980. And what they also did to combat inflation, they withdrew reserves from the banking system. By doing both of those things, they caused the recession of 81, 82, and into 83. The other thing is, I got in the business in 1978, and the apartment market was going great, rents were going up, inflation was there. 1979, inflation kept on going up, rents were going up like crazy. 1979, and you remember, we got rent control in Berkeley and San Francisco. In 1980, we got rent control in Oakland. And the first few years, Oakland owners had 12% increases with no questions asked. Today, it's 0.7%, okay? My first rent survey I did in 1979 in Oakland, 2 districts of Lake Merritt, and the average rent was $196. In 1982, 4 years later, the average rent of those same districts was $317. So that meant that over that 4-year period, rents in Oakland went up in excess of 15% a year. And the average, the inflation rate peaked at about 13 or 14%. So retrospectively, I proved that in inflation, rents keep up or exceed inflation.